Welcome to the HR Empowerment Podcast, where we will uncover strategies and new insights from HR professionals who discuss up-to-date regulations, best practices, and the most pressing topics like diversity and equity, leadership, dealing with difficult situations, and much more that affect your bottom line and business. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. It's Wendy Sellers, the HR lady, with my co-host, JC.
Wendy Sellers, so far in all these episodes in this particular series, I'm completely blown away and enamored, not just by the information, but also the legendary voice of Dr. Roger Firestone, let me tell you.
I know, it's amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Roger, for being here. And for everyone who is just tuning in, we're here with Dr. Roger Firestone. He is an expert in the creative problem-solving space and has trained more people to lead the creative process than anyone else in the world. Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here, and thanks for the voice compliment, JC. I'll try to honor that through that.
Hey, not a problem. I've also got something extra for the both of you right now. Just kind of want to swing this out from the side. Did you know that in regards to overcoming creative blocks in the workplace, 70% of employees believe that companies will benefit from more creative thinking to address problems and develop innovative solutions? Over to you.
I'm going to say Dr. Roger is probably fully aware of that, and he's probably going, hey, business owners and managers, why don't you just listen to your employees? They know what they want to look at, and you're not listening.
Exactly. They're doing the work. Talk to them, and then create an environment where they're going to be willing to get those ideas up. But we can talk about that in further.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and continue talking. Let's talk about some practical tips to break through common barriers to innovation, including not listening.
Well, everybody has creative blocks. And in this business, that's kind of one of the things that I've been done a lot of work with and helped people in organizations to do that. And I've got 7 ways for you to overcome a creative block. Now, this is whether you're writing a manual, whether you're working with a group, whether you're coming up with some new ideas for a project. So, and some of these are a little counterintuitive. So the next time you have a creative block, run away. So oftentimes people will say, well, I have to power through this. No. Sometimes the best thing you need to do is just to step away from the problem, let your unconscious work on it just a little bit. The idea will come to you, and then go back to work. And it doesn't have to be for a long time. When I'm doing writing or a project like that, if I get stuck, I'll walk away, get a cup of coffee, take a walk outside. The idea comes to me, I'm able to come back and get started again. And then speaking of getting started, sometimes the most challenging aspect of a creative project, even like writing a manual, like putting together procedures, is getting started. And people see that blank page as this ominous thing that they have to spend all this time on. Best thing I can recommend is just set a timer for 5 to 10 minutes. Say you're going to work on this for 5 to 10 minutes and see what happens at the end of the timer. If you want to work on it, fine. If you want to stop, that's fine. You can come back to it later. The other one, and this is absolutely crucial, if I was to put these in order, I would say that this is probably the most important thing to keep in mind when you're trying to be creative, and particularly individually, is defer judgment. Don't judge your ideas when you're trying to come up with them. Now, we talk about that in groups, but self-criticism is really a major block to creativity. And so we talk about 2 minds when you're working like this. You're talking about the writer's mind and the editor's mind. The writer's mind is just kind of free-flowing, come up with all those ideas, get them down, and then the editor's mind. But don't have the writer's mind and the editor's mind work together at the same time. Let the writer's mind go free, get those ideas out there, and then judge them later. So defer judgment.
I love that one. I was so excited to get to that one. I was like, I can't wait to hear more about that one, because I literally tell in all my classes, live on stage and everything, I tell everybody, it's natural to judge. We do it. Humans do it. We have to teach ourselves and train ourselves to stop judging, especially when it comes to our employees.
And when it comes to our employees, also when it's coming to our employees and solving their problems, and then also when we're trying to come up with some sort of creative ideas as well, where oftentimes we censor them as soon as they come out. And when I work with my students, some of the biggest blocks that they say is, well, I want the ideas to come out perfect first. And I'll say, do you know how many times I had to rewrite those books that I've come up with? There's always rewriting. So speaking of writing, there's a myth about writing a book or a manual or something like that. We think we have to write it in sequence from the beginning to the end. That's just not true at all. So what I would recommend when you're working on a project, like a writing project or any other project, don't worry about writing it in a linear fashion. Go where the energy is. So if there's a part of the project that inspires you, work there and then go back to another part of the project later. So go where the energy is when you're writing or when you're working on a project. The other thing is, what helps me, particularly in my field when I'm writing, is I have a wonderful editor. So get a supportive editor or get a supportive friend, somebody that you can bounce those ideas off of, so that when you get stuck, you can say, hey, I need some help on this. Can you help me finish this? Can you help me get started? And oftentimes it's just a little push to get you going again. And speaking about getting stuck is, if you get stuck in the middle, don't worry about it. Try jumping ahead to the end of the project. Work your way backwards, those sorts of things. And then finally, and this
Roger,
is for my art.
I got to interrupt you. I got to ask you $1 million question right here. Like, if I don't have a trusted source or friend, a little birdie said I might be able to email Roger@RogerFirestein.com. Is that true or no?
Is very true.
Okay,
I'm
just
your
curious.
Trusted source and friend. I'm your trusted source and friend. How's that for the boy?
That's awesome. And what about the I think you have one more piece of advice there, right?
So this is from my artist friends. Always leave something unfinished at the end of the day. All right. So if you're writing a manual, don't finish the sentence. Okay. If my artist friends, if they're doing a painting, don't finish a key part of that, because then when you come back, you have a starting point. You don't have to start from something that's finished. You can start from something that you want to complete. So always leave something unfinished at the end.
I love that. I'm going to remember that tonight, since I've been burning the midnight oil quite a bit lately.
Start in the middle.
Wendy, as I reflect on the advice that he's providing us and the wisdom today, I can't help but refer to this stat that I pulled for you earlier. 80% of employees feel that there are numerous roadblocks that hinder creativity, including excessive workload, lack of support, and rigid company policies. It indicates a strong need for organizational changes that foster a more creative environment. Back to you.
I love that. Thank you so much. And thanks, everybody, for joining us and listening to episode 3 of our 5-part series. And we are going to be back shortly in episode 4 to continue talking about unlocking individual employee creativity and developing a creativity culture at work. So thanks for joining us. I was going to say you'll see us soon, but I guess you'll hear us soon.
Thank you for joining the HR Empowerment Podcast, brought to you by Aurora Training Advantage. We hope you've gained new insight and strategies to navigate the HR profession. We look forward to you joining us again on the HR Empowerment Podcast.